In what could potentially be the biggest escalation in West Asia tensions, Israeli fighter jets struck Houthi military targets near Yemen's Hodeidah port, killing at least 3 people and wounding 87. The attack comes a day after a drone launched by the Iran-backed group hit Tel Aviv. Israeli defense forces carried out the retaliatory attacks against Houthis on Saturday. Yemen media reported that the strikes were targeted against oil facilities and a power station, and that most of the wounded suffered severe burns in the airstrikes. According to the Israeli military, the strike was carried out by Israeli F-15 fighters that all returned safely. Israeli Defense Minister said the attack was carried out to send a message to Houthi rebels.
למעלה מ-200 פעם. בפעם הראשונה שבה הם פגעו באזרח ישראלי, הכינו אותם, ואנחנו נעשה את זה בכל מקום שבו הדבר הזה יידרש.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu closely monitored the attacks on Houthi targets in Yemen along with senior Israeli military personnel from Tel Aviv. He later put out a warning to the Houthis, Hezbollah and Hamas.
יש לי מסר לאויבי ישראל. אל תטעו בנו. נגן על עצמנו בכל דרך ובכל חזית. כל מי שיפגע בנו ישלם מחיר כבד מאוד על תוקפנותו.
The Hodeidah port is more than 1,700 kilometers from Israel. Israeli military said the port had been used by the Houthis to receive weapons shipments from Iran. The targets included dual-use sites such as energy infrastructure. As the war in Gaza rages on, the Houthis have stepped up attacks against Israeli and American targets, saying they are acting in solidarity with the Palestinians. Israeli officials say the strike in Yemen has come after more than 200 Houthi attacks on Israel. The attack also came after an escalation in the daily exchange of fire between Israeli forces and the Iranian-backed Hezbollah militia in southern Lebanon. This has triggered renewed fears of the war in Gaza spiraling into a wider war in West Asia. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called on the international community to step up pressure on Tehran and its proxies, the Houthis, Hamas and Hezbollah. But the Houthi group has said that there would be an effective response to the strikes. Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Saree said that the Houthis will not hesitate to strike vital targets of the Israeli enemy. Earlier, Yemen's military had issued a warning that Tel Aviv is no longer a safe city. On Friday, a long-range Iranian-made drone launched from Yemen had hit the center of Tel Aviv. At least 1 was killed and 4 others wounded. This was Houthis' first such drone attack, which was not detected by Israel's much-feared Iron Dome. And thousands of Israelis are up in arms in Tel Aviv and other parts of the country. They've demanded Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to fly to the United States when the hostage deal appears to be at hand. The Hostages and Missing Families Forum has launched a campaign demanding Netanyahu to push for a truce in Gaza and to secure the release of all hostages. Protesters chanted slogans on the streets saying no flight without a deal.
Netanyahu, stop sabotaging the deal. The hostages are out of time. Now your duty is to secure the deal. Tonight, before we board the plane to D.C., announce that you will seal this deal with no new terms or conditions, no tricks, no deceit.
Meanwhile, anti-government protesters demanding elections have also lashed onto the hostage families campaign. A performance art exhibit at the demonstrations mocks Netanyahu. Netanyahu's comments from a cabinet meeting when he said the hostages are suffering but not dead. In northern Israel, demonstrators against the Netanyahu government have become a common sight. Demonstrations against the Netanyahu government have become a common sight, Protesters are blocking roads and have been calling out the government to stop the war, bring hostages home, and hold early elections. Now, talks to secure a truce hostage deal have increased hope among Israelis in recent days. On Friday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said a long-sought ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is within sight. He stated negotiators have been driving towards the goal line. Remember, Netanyahu is slated to take off late on Sunday for Washington, where he will address a joint session of the United States Congress on Wednesday. The premier is also expected to meet with U.S. President Joe Biden, but the fate of the meeting is still unclear, as Biden is isolating at his home in Delaware after being diagnosed with COVID-19.
This will be a different kind of war, because Hamas is a different kind of enemy. While Israel seeks to minimize civilians.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.